Welcome back to Honestly Autistic, a YouTube channel I made for educational purposes. So let me introduce myself. Hello, I am Jay, and I am diagnosed with autism. And today I will be talking with a friend of my family, Pete Pezzullo, who happens to be the police chief of Marlboro, New Jersey. I've lived in Marlboro, New Jersey my whole life. And as background to Pete and myself, my dad has golfed with him for years. I went to his ceremony when he was first being sworn in as Marlboro Police Chief, and he has helped teach me how to handle police officers if we get pulled over on the road. And is just a very great and nice guy. He taught me, with another friend named James, who is another Marlboro police officer, how to handle situations on the road when I first learned to drive. James even did a practice pullover with me so I can practice how to show ID and communicate with the police officer if I were to get in a situation with police. It was a very nice of them to do that and to answer any questions me and my family had of how to handle those situations now that I could drive. So here's the question you must be asking yourself. Why are you talking to this man for your YouTube channel? More specifically, an educational channel about autism. Well, recently the state of New Jersey passed a new bill that will go into effect in November 2024 called S761, which will allow autistic drivers the ability to be able to show identification of their autism diagnosis so cops are aware of the driver's condition during something like being pulled over on the side of the road. But more generally is for communication disorders, which could apply to other diagnoses as well in the state of New Jersey. This will come in the form of either a new indication on the license or potentially even a government identification card. My mom, for several years, has been trying to get this passed until last year because of how busy she's been. She has stopped for last year, then all of a sudden, she heard that it got passed without anyone telling her. And without her acknowledgement, at least her time put into it wasn't for nothing because it got enough attention to get other people's attentions. Politics can be very complicated and strange in that way. Also very annoying because of how many years it took to get passed. Yeah. But me and my mom even got featured in the newspaper for this cause. I'll leave a link in the description and another link in the description for the follow-up up after this was all passed. Pretty excellent articles, if you ask me. And yes, I'm saying that because I got interviewed on 2 different occasions in these newspaper articles. Plus, the second published interview made front page. So enough said on that. Now that's all cleared up, let's show the interview between me and Pete Pezzullo, the Marlboro Chief of Police in New Jersey, on what the bill means to cops and how it will help others on the spectrum, including myself, be safe on the road. We know how this bill helps the autism community, but how does it help you and the rest of the New Jersey police force?
That's a good question, Jay. I think that we need to look at knowledge, and I always believe knowledge is power. So this bill is going to give more knowledge to each officer that may stop an individual that has special needs or autism, and they're going to be able to effectively approach the situation, any situation, with the knowledge that they're dealing with somebody that has autism.
That's great. How will police chiefs like yourself in New Jersey make sure your cops are aware of this and will enforce this new, better approach towards people on the spectrum? Will there be a reminder posted somewhere in the department office, maybe?
So training is probably the biggest way that we're going to approach the situation, and we already currently get training here in Marlboro on individuals that are either emotionally disturbed, individuals that have special needs, individuals that may have communication issues, whether it be hearing or speech, and we know what to look for. We have a very good idea of certain ways to detect whether or not somebody may have autism, let's say. And on top of that, we have programs that have been rolled out. One, the county has rolled out, and it's the Blue Envelope program. I have a sample of it right here if everybody wants to take a look. And what the Blue Envelope program does, it allows individuals that have autism to keep all their credentials, your driver's license, insurance card, things of that nature, in this envelope. And at the very top of the envelope, it says the driver is on the autistic spectrum. So when the officer approaches the vehicle and he asks for your credentials, you would give the entire envelope to the officer, which would immediately alert him to understand who he's dealing with, right? And from that point forward, I believe that the officer would have a head start, if you will, in communicating with you.
And that's great because then you don't even need the thing in the office because you basically have it on you at all times.
Yes, sir.
Well, not on time, all the time, but it'd be like the person that you come up to will have it, so it'll just be at the right moment.
Yes.
Great. If the autistic driver starts feeling scared and panics in any way, how will the officer help de-escalate the situation so it doesn't get out of hand? Will they be trained to focus on redirecting the drivers until they can get back on topic?
Of course. So it goes back to training. We're trained to recognize and detect. So in this case, if we're approaching a subject, it could be anybody, really. It doesn't have to be somebody that's autistic. And that individual is showing signs of distress. They're nervous, they're scared, they're acting in a way that we feel we might have to de-escalate the situation. So de-escalation techniques that we learned not only from the academy but further education that we get trained on every year, it allows us to use our words and we speak and we try to bring someone's stress level, anxiety level down. And our officers are very well trained and they're very knowledgeable. So we've had plenty of experience with situations like that.
Okay, I have a follow-up question to that. So, like, what kind of approach would you take, like what kind of things would you do to redirect them in particular? Like, we know, like, how, like, the procedure is, but, like, what kind of things would, like, you maybe say, like, a standard thing to redirect someone, maybe, if there is any?
It's not always what we say. I think it's more our mannerisms and how we carry ourselves. So an officer's demeanor could really help control the situation and bring your anxiety level down. I always tell my officers there's nothing wrong with smiling. I think that portraying an image of that very strict, stoic individual isn't always going to be conducive to communication.
That'd be kind of scary.
Yeah, I want you to be a welcoming police officer within reason, and I want the individuals that we deal with on a daily basis to feel comfortable speaking with an officer. So if it were I approaching you and I could tell that you're stressing or you're having an issue right now, I'm going to smile and I'm going to tell you that I'm not here to hurt you, I'm here to help you, and maybe take a deep breath or try to focus on me. You look at me, and I know certain people don't like to make eye contact and things of that nature, but we're going to do our best to assess the situation and try to bring that stress level down.
Awesome. I noticed we'll add some extra work for cops, but for some otherwise excellent cops that potentially won't be able to help, will we be able to contact someone for support while they're on duty? Like another cop who is better able to handle the situation, or try to get in touch with the emergency contact of the driver for advice. Is that like a possibility?
Of course it is. So police officers are taught to use everything at their disposal, whether it's a fellow police officer, a supervisor, a social worker specialist, whatever it may be. So once that officer assesses the situation, and maybe that officer might feel like they're not as adept at speaking or dealing with an individual, they would definitely call an officer for backup. And then if that doesn't work, a supervisor might show up. And yes, we would definitely contact your parents if that would make you feel more comfortable. And like I said, we'll go back to the blue envelope. This envelope specifically says to have an emergency contact phone number within the envelope. So once that officer opens it up, it's going to give us that perfect lead-in to say, okay, we know we're dealing with somebody on the spectrum, and we have contact information in here that we can call and say, would you mind coming out to the scene? We'd love for you to help us, whether it be deal with you or anybody else.
You'd really think a board people would work on this. The shows that people probably did on board, yeah. Okay. 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 I mentioned training New Jersey cops earlier. But will this new identification and way of handling it going to be taught in the academies to new recruits, if you are aware?
I'm not 100% aware. I don't want to misspeak.
Of course.
But I would say yes. I would say that as part of your academy training, we talk about dealing with individuals that have special needs, emotionally disturbed individuals. There's a whole spectrum of individuals that we may come across, and they teach it as part of a de-escalation training. They teach it as part of interaction training and really getting to understand the individual that you're dealing with. It's not the old style of policing. We understand that each individual is different, and there may be some communication barriers.
Yeah.
So they are trained. I can tell you they are trained in those areas, whether it's specific to this labeling on the license. That may roll out once the program is started.
Excellent. Okay. Oh, what were you going to say?
Nothing, sir.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to say. Oh, you don't have to call me sir. Okay. I came to you and the rest of Marlboro, New Jersey's police for help in these situations before I got my license. Will you or another officer be available for other autistic citizens in Marlboro if they are looking for proper skills for how to talk to cops on the road?
Of course. We have a great community policing bureau here. And community policing really is wide-reaching. There's so many different parts to community policing, one of which is what we did with you. So Officer Caulfield was able to spend some quality time with you and take you through the process of a motor vehicle stop, what to expect. If any other member of our community was looking for that similar exposure or treatment or training, all they'd have to do is contact community policing or my office, and I'd set it up.
That's excellent. And here's a follow-up. Well, actually, you already just answered. I was going to say, how should someone contact the local police department for help in learning techniques? I'm assuming it apply to others as well, right?
Yes.
Excellent. Have you ever been in a situation where someone wasn't able to communicate properly, and will this decal change the approach going forward if you encounter someone like this again?
Yeah, I've actually had personally quite a few instances throughout my career. I've been in policing for 27 years, or almost 27 years, yes. I'm an old man. But I've dealt with more emotionally disturbed individuals that are going through crisis. Those are probably the most difficult I've ever dealt with. Unfortunately, some of them were suicidal subjects, and there was a lot of, I'm not going to say fear, but concern on my part, not only for their safety, but the safety of others.
That's hard on both sides.
Yes, but communication skills really come into play. I've dealt with individuals that were deaf, mute. I've dealt with a few individuals that had autism, but I don't think it was anything that was difficult to handle. Once again, I feel like I'm comfortable in speaking to people, and I have a different type of approach, and I think that I'm a little bit more open, and you could talk to me.
Yeah.
So that's always been a helpful tool. Not every officer is like that. It's something I think you might either you're born with or really have to work towards training. But you know, it's there's never one situation that's identical.
And it's very important how like you were taught all this stuff, and even though like some of the stuff you weren't taught and you just know by instinct, it's good that there's even training for people that might not be in your situation and shoes, which is excellent.
When I was a young police officer, it wasn't the case. You know, times have changed.
Yeah.
Society's changed, and I think police training had to change along with it. So when I went to the academy, we didn't have those things. It was something you learned on the road or as you had those interactions.
Yeah, but it's great how it evolved.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. What advice would you give to new autistic drivers in New Jersey? Are there any misconceptions they should know about as well?
Advice. I would say that for any driver, whether it be someone who is on the autistic spectrum or even your everyday average mom.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. I think the number one is just to remain calm. Everyone, including police officers, when we're off duty, if we were ever stopped by another police officer, there's always that heightened level of anxiety. I think it just comes with being stopped. And I think it's important for every individual to understand that you didn't do anything wrong except for maybe speed or something silly like that. So it's not the end of the world. Take a deep breath. Let the officer approach the vehicle, and once that dialogue starts, everything will be okay. The second thing is remember the officer's there to help.
Mm-hmm.
We're not there to arrest anybody or
It'd be messed up if they weren't.
yeah.
Like, why you get into the force?
They're enforcing the laws of the road.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to understand that as well.
Mm-hmm.
They're not there targeting individuals that have autism. We are making a motor vehicle stop like we would any other day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not until we approach the vehicle that we realize the situation, correct?
Yeah.
Lastly, know where your credentials are,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that should help bring your stress level down.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you had something like the blue envelope, and I hate to keep going back to it, but
Very important.
it is true that having something like this where it's specifying all the credentials you need,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy as reaching in the glove box, pulling it out, handing it to the police officer, even if a lot of people that are autistic are nonverbal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a stressor right there. So the officer comes to the car, and this individual is thinking, I don't even know how to verbalize to this officer. So by doing and giving this, it's going to bring that stress level down because you have your little safeguard right here.
Oh, can I actually tell a quick story?
Of course.
Off topic, where I'm going to end it on? I actually, on my way to college one day, because I go to community college, what happened was that car bumped into me when I was letting a car pass us, and then and I wasn't at fault. The cop confirmed it, but the whole time I tried my best to keep calm, and the cop actually did have a really calm demeanor, and was like laughing, trying to calm down the situation. So even though I was trying my best to be calm, just his presence mixed with my presence really did help the situation stay on an even playing field. I called my mom and dad. The other person called their mom and dad. I pulled over once I was hit, and everything was done just like you taught me. And the cop there was really helpful, and this was in Lincroft.
Oh, great.
So yeah.
Yeah, well, and like I said, Monmouth County, we're pretty well trained, and we've been trying to evolve, and that's a good
Everything has
example.
to involve, even chefs.
We have to. Oh, you like cooking?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was just saying chefs, they have to evolve too, because different cookbooks. I don't know, it was the first thing that came to my mind.
I thought you were going to jump right into cooking.
Nope.
Okay. Do you want me to discuss misconceptions?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's end on that.
Common misconceptions. I think some people believe that police officers are mean, and I get it.
Well, that's a person-by-person thing. Every person could be mean or not mean. Doesn't matter if you're an officer or not.
Well, true, but I think
there also is a stereotype.
when you look at a police officer, because we wear a uniform, because we have to carry ourselves with a certain amount of command presence, they think that that person's got to be mean. And in reality, we're just like you. A lot of us in law enforcement we want to go home to our families. We're mushy people. I'm a mush, and
Say it into the camera.
I'm a mush.
Okay, good.
So, I guess what I'm trying to say is that we have to portray a certain image. There's no doubt about it. But
You're an enforcer.
We're not trying to scare people. You understand? And I think that you would agree that if a police officer in uniform looked disheveled or sloppy and moseyed up to the police car and acted like, or to your car and acted like he didn't care or she didn't care, you'd be like, is this person really a police officer?
Yeah.
Okay. And we do ask a lot of questions, so that makes people nervous, and they think that we're mean because we're constantly prying for information. But we're only trying to help. You understand? And we need information in order to handle a situation. So you're going to get asked a lot of questions. Secondly, people think police officers don't understand what it is to be autistic. Now, I get it. I'm not autistic, but especially in our police department, this current police department, we have so many officers here that have autistic children, autistic brothers or sisters, or someone in their family that's on the spectrum. And we have a very good understanding of what it's like. And we know how difficult it can be. And we're not there to make your life any more difficult. We want to help. And it's just about, I think, both sides having a little bit of patience sometimes. So yes, the misconception that we don't understand, it's truly a misconception. I think we have a pretty good understanding.
And you went to force for a reason, like I said earlier.
Yes.
Yeah. And
then lastly, you know what? I'll leave it at that. I think that those two misconceptions are probably spot on.
So I was going to leave it at that, and I guess that's it. So you want to say bye to the camera?
Goodbye, and I want to thank Jay. It was a great interview.
Thank you. And that is it. You can end the recording, Dad.